gosh. How do I even start talking about this? So I have been doing a lot of root work since I went to California, because this is where I'm born, or this is where I was born. This is, the land, literally, that I came from. And I knew going into this trip that I was doing it primarily for spiritual reasons, which sounds weird, I think, to a lot of people. I think the times when I've gone to LA in recent years prior, it was a lot of like escapism, or I need a break, or I had obligations, like just different layers to it. And it's like this time it was really about this spiritual process that I started about a year ago. And I feel like it was like a huge punctuation on my spiritual goals, basically. And to a certain extent, my vanity downsizing, which they overlap completely in my case. And I think that this trip, it really represents the end of both in a way, because you have the fact that I've stayed on plan the entire trip, which is a huge like vanity success. And then you have these like very deep root chakra wounds that I'm dealing with. And I want to talk about it. So a lot of the trip, I have felt complicated emotions about being in Cali at this time. I think it's something that I can see very clearly, because I'm not like eating a bunch, or I'm not like anhedonic, or I'm not, like, oh my gosh, I have to see somebody from the past I don't want to see. Like, I'm not going through any, like, I'm not tortured, right? I'm not fat anymore. I don't have any of the fucking noise around it. So just being here and having some fun experiences, some deeply physical experiences. Oh my gosh. Going to Six Flags and being in the heat, and then I hiked the Hollywood sign and being in that hot, bright zone and just experiencing all of it. And all of that, I feel there are times where I was during this whole trip where it's like I feel like I love it here, and then times where I feel like I hate it here. And it's going to get a little bit woo, but whatever. So be it, right? But I did some grounding work at the beach yesterday, because I took an activistic photo, which you guys will see soon. And so I went to the beach and I put my bare feet on the ground, which has to do with like a grounding process in a lot of different ways. And it literally like kickstarted and like released all of this stuff from inside. And I had nightmares last night, and there's just like all this shit that came up from grounding in that way. And I hope for my spiritual girlies and boilies, you guys can understand the significance of the photo, because you know that beach that I'm at, it's the land where I was born. So it's incredibly grounding for me. And I was just feeling like I even had a panic attack last night. And I was feeling like I needed to get the hell out of here today. But then other times I was like having so much fun, and it's just so weird. And I finally got clarity. And I was like, Alex, you're ambivalent about California. You're deeply ambivalent. You are vacillating. And it's hard. It's very hard for me to be that way. I think it's one of my least favorite things about myself is the vacillation, the ambivalence, the going back and forth. And to be that way even about my birthplace. And it's like I realize how deep it goes. It goes really far back. And it has to do with sometimes there were really good things and sometimes there were really bad things. And it's weird to be here because when I look around, I see all of the hurt I experienced here, all of the times that I felt like I didn't belong here my whole life, all the times that I felt alienated and lonely and like I just wanted to get the hell out of here. But I also see all of the good times, all of the fun I had, all of the times I did feel a sense of belonging and where I come from and how I am similar to people that are here. I will always be Californian my entire life. It's not something that I can ever escape or necessarily that I'd even want to change. But at the same time, there are moments where I can't stand it. And I just realized it's like you're ambivalent. And I was trying to look into what to do about it. And it's essentially like I have to stop looking for an answer. I have to stop looking for how do I feel about this? How do I feel about this place? How do I feel about being here? It's like that's not the important question. The important question is just, where do I go from here? What am I going to do next? Or what am I going to build in the future? And the important question, or like the important statement is, I have both feelings. I feel a sense of belonging and a sense of alienation when I'm here. And I feel like I have to fix it. And it's like, I don't think I can. I don't think that that's necessary. It's more so about like understanding that both are true. But for whatever reason, like I really do. I have a lot of wounds in this area. A lot. And I was looking it up and stuff, and comes from like inconsistency and conditional acceptance and these kind of things. And I think it goes deep. It goes even, when I talk a lot about my dad and stuff and family issues, and it goes very deep, where it's very inconsistent, where it's like, you're welcome, but only if you're like this, or you're welcome, but only in this circumstance, or you're welcome, but only if you act like this, that kind of thing. And it's very interesting how those stories can be so deep, and they can really permeate so many aspects of life. And I know for me, I've often reflected that, obviously, and within my romantic pursuit, I've reflected that with Mr. Jordy. I've been very vacillating about him. And I hate it. I really hate that. I've been vacillating with my audience. I've been vacillating with my weight loss more than anything, probably in my entire life. I think that it shows up in that way more clearly than anything, with so much upsizing, downsizing. Like, there's nothing quite as vacillating as that. And I think for me, I feel so judgmental towards the past me and how I couldn't commit to stuff. And I feel like I have to have a little bit of grace and be like, you didn't have that consistency, though. So it's hard to commit if you don't feel safe in something. It's hard to commit if it's only available half the time, because then you feel like you're more committed than that, or you feel like, I better make sure I'm less committed, And it goes both ways, and it goes back to my fearful avoidant attachment style. It goes very deep. And it's hard. That this trip has been difficult, because it's hard to see these things. It's hard to feel these things. It's hard to explain to people. There's no understanding. There's so much judgment and hatred for fearful avoidance. And it's like, I wish people could understand that we are often just as confused by why we act this way. And for me, it's hard because I feel connected to people very deeply, but then I feel rejected too. And it's because oftentimes in life, things are a mixture. And within that mixture, we have to choose what we see. If the glass is half full or half empty, what do you see? And for me, like, really developing my empathy has helped immensely. And being able to put myself in other people's shoes has helped immensely. But when I'm doing this without any guardrails, and at this point, it's like, I don't have any vices at all. It's like, I don't have anything. I don't even have caffeine or anything, like, not really. Like, I have a little bit in the morning, but it's like, I'm really, like, feeling it, I'm very, like, I'm extremely straight edge. So it's like, I don't have anything. I don't have anything to distract or to not feel this deeply at this time. And I'm still doing the process. So it's like I still go to the gym. I still am counting the cows. I'm still staying strict. So especially within that context, in that discipline, then it's even harder. So it brings things up to the surface very loudly in this situation. And it's a bit of a pressure cooker. And I've done physically challenging things on top of it, which bring it even more to the surface, to where it's like, this is me. This is something I built my life on. And this is shaky. And I'm perpetuating the wound. I'm perpetuating what happened to me as a kid. I'm doing it to myself. Because if you don't commit, or if you don't understand that things are nuanced, things are a blend, if you don't see that, then you don't understand the whole picture. And for me, I still struggle a bit with the black and white thinking of the TR within relationships, or like a place like where I'm from. Do I love where I'm from? Do I hate where I'm from? The truth is, it's both. It's complex. I have complicated feelings about where I'm from. I have complicated feelings about the stigma of being from California, about my accent, about some of my attitudes, the sort of flighty attitude, the fakeness, the saccharineness of LA, the status consciousness that I'll always have. And I'm not particularly fake, by the way, but I am status conscious, and I don't know if that would ever change, because I'm from here. And I am flighty at times. And I can't be that way anymore. So it's just like, damn, you know? I remember when I was younger, my grandma asked me once, she's like, I don't know how you have any friends. She's like, I don't know how they deal with you. And to be honest, I can kind of see what my grandma was asking, because it's a lot. It's weird. And I have the blessings and curses from being here, being from here. You know, when you have a California accent, people think you're stupid. It's one of the first things that's called out when somebody doesn't like me. They make fun of how I talk instantly. And they'll be like, it's fake, it's this, it's that. And it's like, it's not fake. It's my accent. And fuck you. Because I'm not ever changing it. But it is annoying at times. But there's also like there's the perception of being open-minded or positive or ambitious and all these things. And there are aspects of me that are that way for sure. I am very much like, yes, if you want to do that, you can accomplish it. And that's in my activism. And it's something I really value about myself. And it's very California. It's the city of dreams, basically, right? It's very bizarre. It's very bizarre. And I think when it comes to this aspect of my root wound, I think it's just understanding the reality that I am from here. It will never change. And especially at a time in my life where I've lost a major part of my identity, which was fatness and being overweight. You look for things that are still left over, or you look for things that are still there. And this is something that will always be there. It will never change. And it's like, okay, well, that feels weird to me because it's permanence. And that feels like commitment. And that feels scary. And I don't know if I like that. And I don't know, well, should I, it's like, I think it can be difficult to not necessarily stop, but in some ways, yes, like stop the constant improvement or stop the constant goals or stop the constant next step. And it's like when it comes to this, there's not necessarily anything broken about it. It just is what it is. I'm from here and I love it and hate it at the same time. And it's never going to change. I have pride in where I'm from and I have shame in where I'm from. And it's not going to change. And I feel like it's so unacceptable to be that way. And I don't know. It is, but that is what it is. And I don't know why I have so much, like, I feel so much pressure to make certain decisions all the time or know exactly how I feel. And I do feel like people put pressure on me sometimes, but I think what I've understood is over the past year is that feelings don't always matter, especially if they change and especially if they're vacillating and especially if it doesn't determine my actions. And it's like, if Mr. Jordy's listening, even if I have vacillated, even if I'm uncertain, it doesn't change my action. It doesn't change my consistency in what I do. It doesn't change my decision that I said at the beginning of the year that I chose you. Because I'm fucked up a bit, honestly. And I think I have to accept the past. I have to accept my upbringing. I have to accept that I didn't have that stability. I didn't. I didn't have that stability, especially from my dad. I didn't. And it's like, it's never going to change either. And it's tough, but I think I'm building something now, and I think this trip was about building a new root. It's a part of my process of building new roots, and I feel like I've made a lot of progress this year, and I hope that you all can see it, and I hope that Mr. Jordy can see it, and I hope that you can see that I'm committed. I've been very committed to this cause, to this activism, to this process. And I feel like going a full year with perfect adherence is probably about as fucking decisive and committed in all of that as anybody could ever be. And sometimes when it comes to spiritual stuff, sometimes our deepest wounds become our greatest strengths. And I feel like this might be happening to me now. I feel like this root issue, I may end up being one of the most committal, one of the most committed, loyal people and grounded people after this.